Hello everyone, in episode 2 of this series. And in this episode, we will take a deep look into how I made this character. This will be an in-depth workflow, and I will go over all the steps starting with the concept and ending up with the final render of a ready-to-animate character. The first step is collecting references and drawing and designing the concept art. This step is crucial to make less mistakes afterwards. The more details you put here, the more clear your creation process will be. I start drawing basic circles to define the mass and see what will look better for this character, like the width of the shoulder, the height, and fist size. Some of the references I got were from art websites like ArtStation, but others were generated from AI platforms, which I think is the only good use of it for now, collecting references. After finishing the rough sketch, I drew a cleaner line work on top of it. The idea of anger was the raging fire that's leaking through its crevices and destroying him from the inside. That's why I made the eyes hollow and added a scar on his heart. His left arm design is different from his right because it might be used as a cannon in the cinematics I want to make. And the full cannon in the shoulder will represent the barrel. For coloring, first I choose different shades to make the details more readable, then used a red color on top of it to give a rage feeling. I also added the places where I wanted glowing fire to show. Now in Blender, I started blocking the character from subdivided cubes and spheres on top of the references I made. I might reuse the limbs I already blocked from the last character and then change the proportions of it. The blocking stage is just to put the mass in place. I never add details in this stage because all the details will be added in sculpting. Here I can define all the details I want, one part at a time, while having some references on the side for the anatomy to make sense. The character is not symmetrical, which will make it more interesting, but will take more time in all steps. I mainly use the glaze strips brush to add more mass on the muscles and the grab brush to reshape the body for the desired look I want. I mask the places I want to extrude and then invert the mask to inflate these areas to get rocky armor shape. To get the rocky look, I use the scrape brush to get flat surfaces and the draw sharp to get sharp lines. When I start on the face, I bring up the main reference I got the idea from next to the concept art I did. The retopology process was a bit tricky, because the character wasn't symmetrical, so I started with the symmetrical parts first, and then disabled symmetry and continued the rest, and just like in the first episode, I used base surface add-on to do the retopo. After finishing the retopo, I used the multi-res modifier to keep the high poly information on the same object. That will help me in the texturing stage on something called baking. And now that I have a low poly version with a multi-res modifier on top of it, I can add more detail on a higher level while keeping the retopology clean. Now I started adding seams to unwrap the character and texture it in Substance Painter. Now in Substance Painter, we can use all the details from the high poly version on the low poly one, and it can read the curvature of the character to add details in specific areas. I'm trying to add multiple noises on top of each other to sell a damaged rock effect, and add some custom brush strokes to add some cracks. Now I'm masking the body under the rock armor to give it another color tone. The final color I'll add is the orange glowing fire in the scar, mouth, eyes, and the volcano on his shoulder. Now back in Blender, I'm using Rigify to rig the character. I'm aligning all the bones with the body, but I deleted the face rig because I don't need it here. Now I'm testing the rig, and for the most part it's working good. But if you notice on the shoulder armor and the volcano and some other places, it's deforming a lot, and I want it to be more rigid. So I'll fix the weights to make it more influenced by one bone only and thus doesn't bend. After I'm satisfied with the rig, I'll set up a camera and pose the character in a position that fits it. In Photoshop, I'm doing a simple design to present the character and also correcting the colors and maybe draw some sparks from the fire. I'm making use of the passes that I can render to get the glow separated, for example. I put the name of the character in the background and like to add some effects to it that represents the character. This is all for this character. Hope to see you in the next video where we will make the next character and explore one way of how we would go about making cloth and test auto retopology tools also. See ya!